Welcome to the Whiskey Vault. I'm Daniel Whittington, Chancellor of Wizard Academy and Whiskey Marketing School, Level 4 Whiskey Sommelier. I really should be calling myself a Level 5, but we decided Level 5 is an honorary title that we don't really use. Is expensive whiskey better? The answer is maybe, no, depends. So the answer to this question is it's not better, or it might be better, but it has nothing to do with quality. Price has nothing to do with quality or enjoyment. Price has to do with rarity. Like diamonds, rarity is what drives price, not quality. And sometimes it's actually rare. So, sometimes it's actually rare, like the Midwinter Night's Dram from High West that releases once a year in the holidays. It's actually rare. It's hard to get. They don't make a bunch of it, and it's priced a little bit high. Sometimes it's perceived rarity, like when everybody falls in love with Henry McKenna 10 and it's an MSRP bottle at $35, but a store in your town sells it for $100 because so many people want it. Does that make it a $100 bourbon? No, it makes it expensive bourbon. Does it taste, 3 times as good as its MSRP? No, probably not. So it's not better whiskey because it went from 30 to 100. It's just rarer whiskey, even if that's only because the store owner can't get their hands on it or you can't get your hands on it, right? So rarity drives price. Now, sometimes, like in craft, price is higher because expenses are higher. When you're Diageo and you can buy, grain in the hundreds of millions of pounds or tons, you get a different price. Or bottles by the million, you get a different price than the craft guy who's buying one pallet of 800 and something bottles, and he's going to pay through the freaking nose for those bottles because he's buying one pallet and he hopes he gets through it all, right? And so when he does his one pallet and he buys his grain from a local farm and he distills relatively inefficient, that was for you, Reed, and he makes 1 barrel of whiskey and then he has to wait on it for 4 years and then he bottles it and he has to pay through the nose for all these labels, and then all of a sudden this little craft guy releases a 4-year-old bourbon for $85. But you can get a Wild Turkey 101 for 25, 30. What? And it's older. No. Why? Why is it more expensive? Because rarity. Rarity as defined by expense and cost for the craft guy. It's more expensive, right? Now, does it taste 2 or 3 times as good as Wild Turkey? It depends. I think so in a lot of cases, but not always. But you have different financial motivations in that scenario. Now, when a whiskey is priced $300 instead of $50, do you enjoy it more? The science says, yeah, maybe. But first, let's talk Midwinter's Dram. High West is the distillery in, sorry, my brain froze, Utah. Park City, Utah. They were, older craft, actually. They did a lot of sourcing from MGP, and then they made their own stuff, and then they blend. But they released this one as a special edition. I am drinking Act 12, the 12th round, Scene 4. They're up to 13, 14, 15. This is not the most recent release. And it is a blend of straight rye whiskey, then also finished in port barrels. So a port cask finished rye. And the thing is, that's why they released it at the holidays, because rye has all of these baking spice botanical notes. Well, often, not always, often. And to pair that with port cask sweetness and fruit and fig and raisin means that you get this really desserty, sort of vaguely Christmassy direction of flavors. Holidays, say, right? And sure enough, that's what this one is. There's various levels of high spice or low spice, but this is Their Rendezvous Rye finished in port and French oak barrels. Super classic sugar, cinnamon, vanilla cream, spice, tannin, dryness. Not quite eucalyptus, but headed the direction of menthol. And then layered on top of it, fig, black pepper, dried fruits, like actual dried fruit, dried berries. Very pretty. Yeah. And it drinks like vanilla cream with dried berries and a dusting of cinnamon. It's a beautiful whiskey. I've always been a fan of this one, and it's 49.3% alcohol. I've always been a fan of Midwinter, and I don't really talk about it a lot, but like, and because you guys know I'm not a big rye guy, but this is one of those ones that you know, Emma and I will break out specifically around holidays and desserty occasions to just be like, it's time, it's cold outside, it's time to finally drink the Midwinter Dram. But it's not one you drink in Texas when it's 104 and 80% humidity, for me anyway. It's definitely cold weather, sweater, fire crackling, holidays, family, dessert whiskey, which is why I'm drinking it in June? Yeah. But it's good. I love this one. So, do you like expensive whiskey more? Yes, scientifically. There was a study done where they did brain scans of people while pouring wine, and $10, I think it was like a $30 and $100 bottle, or a $20 and $100 bottle of wine, or five. It's massive spread. And then they studied the parts of the brain that light up for pleasure. And as they studied this, they found the pleasure center of the brain activated more when they were drinking what they thought was the expensive wine. In reality, they were both the same wine. But when they were told it was more expensive and they were supposed to like it more, they did. Now, and it's not a fake, it wasn't an illusion. Their brain pleasure centers actively lit up more when they thought they were supposed to like it. That's a big deal. So does expensive, and I think this is the conclusion of a Vox video that we use in class, which I loved. The conclusion was, does expensive wine taste better? Does expensive, then the answer is yes, maybe, as long as you know it's expensive. Now, I'm going to addend that with the story and the soul of why a whiskey exists, every bit as important or more important than price. If I pour you a whiskey and say, this is a $400 bottle of whiskey, you might be like, wow, remarkable. Yeah, you're right, it is pretty good, you know. But there's no emotion in that story. If I tell you a magical story about this whiskey and why it matters and where I got it and how I met with the distiller and why they chose this and the heart behind it and why when I drink it and the last time I had this was with, you know, my grandfather who passed away, and I drink it in his honor every year on his anniversary, and it was his favorite thing and it always reminds me of this, and then we pour it, you're programmed at that point. Your brain's gonna go like, yeah, I'm gonna find reason to like this thing. But your reason for liking isn't gonna be just like, real expensive. It's gonna be an emotional connection. And that's gonna light up and connect at a whole other level. And this is why telling the human story behind a whiskey is way more important than the technical, rare price story. Human connection is always gonna win over the technical facts of a whiskey. So if someone doesn't really have a great time enjoying a whiskey that you're pouring for them, it's because you did a bad job of telling them why they should love it. So it's your fault. Be better. Cheers to you. I hope that helps. I'm really glad you're here. This YouTube video is the most expensive YouTube video that we've ever shot. It's rare. It's very rare. You should like and subscribe.